Clap sync on 3. 1, 2, 3. Welcome!
So fast that
I
time.
know, I caught up with you on that one.
I can't get you.
Welcome to another Beyond Life. That's a shitty opening. Cut it.
Yeah.
Just cut it all.
Welcome.
Welcome.
As long as you're not smiling, that's all that matters, right? You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
smile.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. Welcome.
You already did.
Shit.
It's so hard not to do it.
I know. We're just a lovable bunch here at
Or-
the Effin' Movie Podcast.
Just flexing on the people in the suicide world, you know?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Hey guys, look what we can do. Fuck you. Anyway. Welcome to the Effin' Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Nathan, Mason, Dylan, and Price.
In that order.
In that order from right to left. If you're a left to right guy, fuck you. Nathan, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Risk Cutters, a love story.
I forget about that. Under
The little addendum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? What's this love story about?
Well, it's basically about our main character who kills himself and then ends up working at Kamikaze Pizza in the suicide world, where everybody there is there because they killed themselves, except for one girl that they end up meeting who was there by mistake. But that's kind of where the story mostly unfolds, is like his journey to find his girlfriend, who we found out killed herself, and meeting this other girl along the way.
So the reason that she's there by mistake, my understanding was that she OD'd,
Yeah.
which was a mistake, and all the other people had intentionally killed themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I feel like would happen a lot more often.
Right, I feel like that she cannot be the one exception on OD suicides.
that's
Oh,
what
I mean,
Yeah.
it might be relatively common, which
Sure.
is why there's people in charge.
Yeah.
You know.
What was it, the PIC?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Or POC?
POC, people,
Oh, PI. Yeah, it is.
people in charge, right?
Yeah,
Like, or
yeah.
something like that, yeah.
I will start off on a good note, though. I like the introduction to this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Oh, him waking up doing the
Yeah,
apartment
Yeah,
it's
just
like,
like,
what
yeah.
is
In the
this? Like,
house,
it's just
yeah.
nothing. Like, he's in
Yeah.
an awful, like, dirty room, and
No.
he's just cleaning, and that's all it is. Just like, why am I watching him do this?
When I realized what...
I like how
Yeah.
it also like kind of ends framed on the one little like
The little
piece
dust,
of
and
dust
it's
that he
just-
notices that
yeah.
he missed.
Yeah, right after he cuts
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. That point I did find funny, and I agree. I think that the beginning was well done. It's like, once you figure out what he's doing, it's just like, huh. Alright, that's pretty good. They thought
Yeah.
this scene out pretty well.
Mhm.
The little dust bunny, though, is just like, no.
But yeah, I mean this movie is I'll be honest, it's very obviously super low budget.
Yeah.
Got a lot.
We
of,
could have shot this
like,
movie.
Camera and
Yeah.
like seriously.
In fact, why
probably
don't we?
could. Minus
Yeah.
like the couple of really surprising cameos.
Oh, that's true.
Because there's a lot of really people that you just wouldn't expect, like what's his
Will
name?
Arnett.
Will Arnett,
Well, I mean,
Offerman.
Yeah, Nick
Yeah,
Nick
Offerman.
Offerman.
Yeah, that was the one that I completely forgot about
Right.
too, where he's just like a random cop
Yeah.
with the like saddest looking cop outfit. Like he's wearing a white T-shirt
Yeah.
and what looks like a fake clip-on tie. Like it's
Yeah.
like he made the tie himself too,
Knowing Nick Offerman, he probably did, too. That guy's handy.
just pretending to be a cop in this world where everybody's dead.
Right, I was supposed to say, also, there's an implication behind that character, too, where it's like, could you imagine being a cop in the suicide world?
in the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
chance world, basically.
Anybody, like, trying to be an authority figure of some sort in there is just like...
Well, and like this movie is, it's set in this world where everybody's killed themselves, and it's basically just like a slightly shittier version of the real world. They're in a desert, pretty much. There's not a whole lot going on. Nobody really has a lot of like drive to do anything particular, and a lot of these characters, as you are introduced to them, you're also shown flashbacks of like how they offed themselves. And Nick Offerman's character was just like in the military and killed himself while running through the jungles.
Yeah, it looked like they were like recreating Vietnam or something like
Yeah.
that, and then he was just like, nope, I ain't gonna fucking do it, like, I'm not
So
gonna let
it
them
makes
kill
it
me.
even stranger that he decides, I'm gonna be a cop.
Yeah.
And like clearly just made up a cop outfit.
Right.
Like it's like he found a police hat and he's like, yeah, I'll do this.
That's
This is motivation.
To be fair, he does have because you do carry your suicide wounds over.
Mm-hmm.
somewhat, because it seems like they're a little
Some of
loose
them
with
do,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
If they didn't have the makeup budget for it, they weren't
Well,
going to do it.
that's
but-
the thing. Is like his was really
Yeah.
over the top,
Uh-huh.
and then a lot of them, you can tell it's like they I don't know, shot themselves in the neck or
Yeah.
something, because they have like this little black mark on the side of their neck or something that's, I guess, supposed to imply the way in which they went.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll say my biggest downside of this now, because I did not like this movie. It's the best thing about this movie is its concept. The worst
Yes.
thing about this movie is everything else about how they executed it.
Mhm.
I mean, the dialogue's not that interesting. I didn't like any of the characters. I really didn't like the forced romance between the girl and the guy. I felt zero chemistry between them personally, and them winding up together at the end didn't make any sense to me. And how they ended it with them smiling at each other, it just rolled my eye. Gave this movie the biggest roll of my eyes I could afford.
I knew it was going to
My-
happen.
I figured that would be happening.
My
yeah.
biggest qualm with this movie is the ending myself, because at about the 2/3 of the way point through this movie, I was like, these guys can't live. Like, there is no portal, there is no way, there is no chamber that they can cross through to make them live. And I was like, there's no way, there's absolutely no chance. And then that last, like, 12 to 20 seconds, I was like, I was with you. I
Fuck
wanted
you.
to, like, this couldn't have just been a purgatory thing. Like, they
Right.
could have been dreaming this whole thing. But anyways, I'm kind of with Bryce on it. I think that this concept was so cool. This world was incredible. I didn't dislike it that much, the execution part of it, but it did seem to just kind of carry on. And it was kind of like the whole Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, where they just keep finding people.
Yeah.
Or Dude, Where's My Car? Where like they just keep finding these random groups, or this gas station attendant, or who was that guy that was like floating? Or I
Oh
can't
God,
remember.
that guy! Yeah,
He stuck
the-
around way too
The
Yeah, he
miracle
kept
guy,
showing
yeah.
up.
I get that he was important at the end, but
Yeah.
man, I got
Well,
real sick
yeah,
of him.
there. So I knew whenever I wrote this down, it's like that's going to be the worst part of this movie.
Mhm.
That whole
You did mention
camp
that. You did
section,
mention
and I was like,
And you were
honestly, it's going to be bad. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be a really dumb stretch of the movie.
That part sucks.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think even more to the point too is that we're talking about like the phoning, like the happy ending phoned in, so to speak. But I think the part that bothered me even more than that was that the girl, the love interest girl, not the ex-girlfriend.
Mhm.
Bad haircut, girl.
Yeah.
She's got that haircut and everything she's in.
Right.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
she is.
Wow.
But
It's a good trivia fact.
it's the fact that she's just like, yeah, wait, I'll be right back, and they clearly have like something going on again, even though like he meets up with the old ex-girlfriend, but I feel like even they're kind of connecting still, and then she kind of picks that up as she's
The old
leaving.
ex-girlfriend is crazy.
As
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
She's
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that she's like, all right, wait 5 minutes, and then literally she like gets all the way to like the thing, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're good to go. And she's just like, all right, cool. And I'm like, this bitch doesn't care about this guy at all.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, he fucking sucks. He's like maybe the worst soy boy beta cuck.
You're insane. The guy from that movie,
which
the
one?
original Soy Boy Beta Cuck,
It
is
Follows?
definitely the worst. Yeah, It Follows.
Yeah.
No.
He does not
I
compare
think,
to
no,
him.
he's like,
He watched her have sex with other guys, and it's like, he didn't want
Really?
to.
that
Watch.
wasn't like super by choice, so to speak. I mean, considering the circumstances, this guy looks like he would passively watch other guys plow her,
Yeah.
and he would just kind of be like, "Oh man," you know,
Oh,
like
shucks.
it's like it's a different kind of soy. It's definitely like a less sugary, very like depressed soy boy, but it's a soy boy nonetheless that I don't care for.
You're-
Talking about that kind of stuff, did you all notice that it was actually Will Arnett in that whole scene in the beginning where he's talking about like, I bet she cried at my funeral. And,
I didn't notice that he was there.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
notice that was
You
like-
sure?
And it, yeah,
Really?
and it flashes back to it later, like showing him like.
Oh no,
with
I'm
her.
the flashback with Will I did
Yeah.
know, but I didn't
Yeah,
know
and that was
like,
the same location,
Right.
Where it was
Oh.
like implying
Hmm.
that she probably had met somebody else, and she had. But
Yeah,
it was
she's been Will.
this Messiah character that she kills him. Like he kills himself to like move on. He thinks, and then
Yeah, because he
then
was-
she decides to follow after him.
Right. That being said, I also don't like that we kind of get left on this weird, like, inconclusive note of what happens when you kill yourself again in
Yeah,
Purgatory
yeah,
World.
like what happened?
Right, I'm like,
because
all right.
everybody in that world is just like, well, I'm not doing that again.
Not again.
Like it doesn't
It
seem
hurt.
like anybody did it.
Yeah.
And it was such a big deal that he
As
was
if
gonna
it was
do
like
Which is-
punishable.
yeah, punishable because then like the people in charge show up and everything. And it's
Right.
like trying to like break the whole thing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, the main character was like one of the issues just because he was the driest human being ever, and like he was just like this vessel of like, I guess you're supposed to be in my shoes the entire time, and you were
Yeah.
learning this as I go as well. But I did like his partner, the guy that he kind of found along the way.
That's what I want
Yeah.
to talk about too. Is like his character. How do y'all feel about him?
I liked his introduction pretty well. I mean, I don't know if you can just hit it off that quick with anybody and just start hanging out with him. But
I mean, when
it's
you're
a
all
different
dead, I
world,
think
yeah.
it's a little, like,
Yeah.
everything's a little bit artificial.
Yeah.
I think his introduction's fine, but the character he makes for the rest of the movie, I found very irritating. It felt like, I know the kind of guys who is just like, it's always about sex, and it, like, that just looks at women
Yeah.
as, like, incredibly objectified, right? Like, there's no human behind it, and he's just bad dating advice all
Yeah.
the time.
It gets really annoying.
Yeah, I'm like, I had fucking family members like that when I was a teenager, and that's all I thought.
Like when
It
he
was just
slapped
like,
her ass at
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the restaurant or whatever.
Well, I mean that was kind of a funny moment whenever she grabs. the
Yeah, she's
phone
like, oh,
and,
if you slap my ass again, I'm gonna tell your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, I thought he was fine on off the cuff, but then like as the movie went on, I was just like,
Yeah, like he kind of comes and goes. Like he
Right.
adds good humor. I feel like in a lot of moments, and also kind of speaking of family and stuff, like the whole thing, this whole family had killed themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The whole
my
family.
favorite scene of the movie was when he was talking to the main character, was talking to that kid, and he was like, "Yeah, I killed myself," and it did a flashback
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
That was
the little
so
kid.
that's where I was
with the rope
wanting to
around
get
his
to.
neck.
Might have been my favorite part.
Whenever he slaps the
Well,
shit.
yeah, that
dude,
was my favorite
Yeah,
scene.
that was
Yeah.
great. It's like, oh, come down.
Yeah, no, I was like,
Okay.
oh, a kid is gonna kill himself.
All right,
What?
let's get racy.
Yeah,
here.
he's like,
Yeah.
we were the best team. The best team should always win. Blah blah blah.
Let me tell you.
Oh,
what-
it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It was so stupid, but then it had such a satisfying like
Yes.
slap
Yeah.
on that kid.
Yeah.
Like, that was amazing.
I don't think they had enough for a stunt double. I think they actually slapped that kid for this, which makes it even funner to me. Yeah, that's definitely again, which like that whole little intro peek in itself is definitely a higher reel for it. I think the only other scene with that character in specific that kind of gets me again is like his little intro one where he's just like, oh yeah, anytime a girl says she'll be right back, they're definitely always going on with that, which ties into the tail end of the movie again. But seeing the two girls play the guessing game with that, I was just like, I mean, yeah, this seems like a pretty normalized thing. Like, I feel like everybody would be super chill about the suicide world. If you've already committed, you're just kind of like,
Well, that, and I was trying to think of like the logistics behind it too, because if you think about a world full of people that have only killed themselves, or only filled with people that have killed themselves,
right.
I mean, you're talking like less than 1% of like today's population,
Yeah.
like far less.
Hence, maybe
Well,
like the
and-
deserted
It's
aspect.
like
of
it's like the
Well,
Wild
it
West.
would also like, I mean, if you're talking like real numbers, then it would be a lot more men than women too.
Oh, yeah,
really?
it'd be a sausage fest.
Yeah.
Men complete a lot more because we usually use things like guns and stuff like that, where women typically OD or attempt to OD, and then they
There's
get
like an
stomach
eagle
bumps.
right out your back door right now.
Yeah, there is.
I promise.
It's a hawk?
It's a hawk. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
there's
sure it's
a
not
hawk.
an eagle price?
yeah, it's on an
I
American
don't
bald
give a
eagle.
crap.
The one bird everybody should know in this country.
Look at him go.
Yeah, he's a hawk. He's a good
Sorry.
boy.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't
But
blame
yeah,
him.
just
I'm
like
a bird fan. So.
the fun things that this movie was able to like kind of make you think of while you were learning it. Like at one point, something like floated upwards. I can't
The
remember.
little
Oh,
match
the
whenever
match.
she
Yes.
lit a cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole like minor miracles thing, like that might have been an interesting idea, but I think it's wrapped up in the whole section of the movie that I just don't like.
Yeah.
Like that whole camp part is just like, why did they suddenly stop here? Why are they like wasting their time just hanging out at this weird commune kind of
Mhm.
situation with this guy that seems like he's always just like in a super foggy haze, barely coherent.
Yep.
It's a very strange. In that scene with the floating match too, he's like there with a slideshow of random photos telling a story about a crooked tree and a straight tree.
Yes.
I hate that story.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
about and one day the lumberjack came in and said, "Kill all the straight trees."
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There was a lot of almost like fluff.
Yeah, this movie's fat.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the shape of the movie while we're here. Price.
This movie's fat.
Thank
It's
you.
only, I think, an hour 28 minutes
Yeah.
long. It's fat. There needs to be like 20, 30 minutes cut, starting with almost the entire camp scene.
Yeah.
Almost that whole thing needs to be cut. I mean, this movie's fat, and it felt fat.
Is this movie that fat? Yeah, it is. It's fat.
Like, it doesn't take a lot of your time, but the time that it does take, it is wasting.
Right. You know, it's
Like it has times where it shines, but it's got a lot more time that it's just being weird and not in any kind of good way.
I hate to say it, like, I think this comes back to, and this is kind of like whenever I critique a movie so fat, that it's like, I would take so much of it, I almost want it to be a different format. I would make it just be like a short film.
I mean, maybe, but I would almost, like, I would rather, have your length, but actually do something better.
Right,
You
I
know,
mean,
like, you had some
I
interesting
agree.
ideas, I think.
right.
Yeah.
If they
And you
fleshed
had,
out
like,
some of
you
these
had some
concepts.
pretty decent cast, too. Like, I think you could have done well.
I kind of like those little flashbacks, too, where they showed like how people killed themselves.
Yeah.
That was one of the
I
best
kinda
parts of the
like
whole
those.
movie.
Right.
And you could have done that with 5 more characters if you really
Yeah.
wanted to.
Mhm.
If you just introduced them.
If they were going to keep the time, they could have made that, like, a flavor of, like, the movie, so to speak, right? Like, every other, like, 10, 15 minutes we get a new character that's introduced, and you kind of get their background, and they do that. I'm like, okay, that uses the time much more effectively in a way that makes sense. But, yeah, movie just diddle-daddles around for so long. We're just in a car, and oh, no, there goes the sunglasses into the hole that goes back to the living world, I guess.
But yeah,
And it shows that black hole
Yeah.
CGI
The CGI
thing.
is
They
so
do
bad.
that so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think, yeah, it's definitely fat. And I will never. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil this part, but like, I will never like say that an indie movie should have been a higher production quality. Like, because that's what I like about those indie type movies. Like, this movie was really cool with its like filter. In the living world, and whenever his parents came back in, they were the normal, tone with the camera, but yeah,
everything is a little more washed out.
Oh,
than
yeah.
Suicide World.
It had like that Twilight, like that blue look to it. Like
Yeah,
that
it
film
had that
on
filter
it.
tone.
Yeah.
Film on it.
But anyways, this movie was so chunky, just throughout little parts. I can't really. There's plenty that we've already talked about. I can't think of any other ones, but yeah.
So I don't think this movie is as bad as Third Star, but I think it's comparable in the sense that it's an indie film that took up too much time.
Yes.
To do nothing.
I
with it.
cared much more about this movie than Third. The Third Star was like, this
You
guy's
didn't
got
watch that
cancer.
I was in Japan.
It was sad. You're supposed to
Benedict
feel for
Cumberbatch
him, but
died.
like this movie was like playing on
Wow.
death. Versus Third Star was
Oh,
leaning
Suicide, actually.
on death.
Yeah.
Which that's like Price said earlier. The whole concept of this movie is phenomenal, and pretty easy to like
Yeah.
get on board with. I think.
Yeah.
This feels like something that, like not like a much bigger director, but somebody like definitely a director with a budget would have picked up at that time period too.
Gosh, yeah.
And they would have even got the original Soy Boy actor because he was
They could
doing all
afford
that.
him.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
could have
I-
afforded him at that time.
Might not have liked him that much, but I felt like he was a good like vessel for
He
being
was-
that character.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those characters, like it's the Keanu Reeves theory, right? Is that you give a character that's like so flat that you're projecting yourself through that character, and they don't really need to do much because they're your service, like their point of view.
Yeah.
But you could do flat characters in an interesting way, like
Sure.
American Psycho.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like he's fairly flat until he gets those moments to
A bounce
show
of
more bounce
insanity.
of
Yeah.
personality.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was flat at all.
Yeah. I don't have. I don't see it quite the same as that.
I thought he
I'm
was.
trying to think of like an actual character that we've seen that's
Neo
just
is
been
like the
yeah.
trademark
Uh,
character. For
I mean,
that, right? Like
Yeah, maybe Neo.
you have a world so interesting and exciting,
and he's
Neo,
just what?
give me guns. and then he kills.
Matrix.
Yeah. Morpheus.
Did I pick the red pill?
I fucking love him for that. But Keanu Reeves, like, there's an acting behind it, so to speak, right? It's weird to say that you have to act to be flat, but like this is what like I think bad flat acting looks like, right? Where it's like, for me, this felt like the guy was like, it was. I didn't want to project myself through because I just didn't find him likable enough to even be like a connected piece.
Oh, and he's a very self-obsessed person. Like, he's got this guy that's going on this trip with him, and he's just like fucking fumbling his
I know, this
sunglasses
guy-
down the hole and all
He's
kinds of
eating
other
people's cottage cheese.
Yeah.
Like, everything's
Yeah,
about
he was
him.
the worst fucking roommate.
Roommate.
In the Suicide
Yeah.
World.
Yeah.
How do you be a bad roommate in the Suicide
I know,
World?
you killed yourself and you're fucking, like, you're eating
Right,
my cottage
he was
cheese.
self-obsessed.
That guy
Yeah.
sucks. I was with the big Austrian guy on this one. I was
Yeah.
like, I was gonna eat that. Well, I'll get you a new one later.
All
It's
I'm
not
asking
the
for
point.
is
Yeah.
just sit down when you pee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stranger Quest?
I'm with his
Yeah.
roommate on any.
Those
problem
rules
that
were
he had.
all right.
Very
All right.
reasonable.
What do you
Very
think, Bryce?
I've had that happen to me. I've had roommates eat my stuff and they're like, "I'll replace it." I'm like, "That's not
That's
the
the point. I was
point."
gonna eat it. I know, and the
Yeah.
girls were always standing and peeing all over your
Everywhere.
Ladies, I'm just asking you.
Spray and pray.
Spray and pray. Let's do we got more to chew on this one? What's the trivia?
Man, bone dry.
Oh.
There were 4 entries, I think, on IMDb for trivia, and none of them were actually trivia,
Yeah.
really.
Nick
So,
Offerman was in this movie.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Like, there was a lot of goofs, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they made a lot of weird mistakes between shots where, like, talking about the kid going to hang himself, the rope was like changing its height between every shot apparently.
Yeah.
And like there's a point where they're like, whenever they were picking Nicola or
The girl?
yeah, whenever
Yeah.
they picked her up, they like picked her up on one side of the road and drove off on the other side of the road.
Mm.
Just lots of little inconsistencies all throughout the movie, but
Oh well.
like
Yeah.
I don't think any of us noticed that
Mm-mm.
because
Nah.
you're not
Well, the
really
movie itself was so
Yeah.
like lower quality. I mean,
Right.
I
I
kind of
would have thought.
expected it. I
Yeah,
guess.
I would have
Yeah.
thought it's almost a bit of like the low quality charm of it, so to speak, if
Yeah.
they did catch it. But I mean, to their credit, this isn't like a long running pop culture universe or something like that, where it's like they need somebody to keep up the consistency in the lore, because if it
Yeah.
fucks up, then it messes up other implications.
They've got a bulletin board with a timeline,
Right,
with yarn and
right.
string and all that.
They're like, no, Yoda doesn't die until episode 12. If he dies at 11, it's all fucked. Like, you know,
the
like,
X-Men
yeah.
screw up. Fumble.
Right? Yeah. They need the consistency there.
One thing about this movie too, I don't know if you guys picked up on its vibe, but like halfway through with the love interest with the bad haircut
Mm.
and our main character, there's a lot of instances where it's like, oh man, they're like regretting that they killed themselves, or like a lot of the people that they meet are like kind of sort of sad about it. And I didn't know if this movie was supposed to be like a, hey, don't kill yourself, there's more to live for, kind of, kind of the whole thing, but
I didn't really get that vibe out of it.
Yeah,
I kind of got it a little bit at times, and I was like, all right, like you're a little bit too tongue-in-cheek now, like go back to your roots. That's
Right.
how I felt anyway, but it might not have been as...
I didn't feel like this was too PSA heavy,
No,
right? Like this
I-
wasn't like
I
an
didn't either.
anti-suicide one. I feel like that it was like racy content, and like some of the jokes will intentionally lean in that direction because it's like it's like the humor of like, well, you kill yourself because you have debt the next day. Like if you played lotto like you usually do, you would have won, right?
Yeah,
Like
just like
that's
Alanis Morissette said,
yeah,
you know?
that's the ironic sense of it all.
Hey.
Hey, we owe her $5.
Can I hand it to her in person?
Yes. She's Canadian. She's very nice. So.
Very nice.
Very.
I thought you were gonna say.
I heard it in my head, and then you said it after. But the whole gist of it is, I didn't feel like it was too heavy-handed, and it's like, don't do it, guys. Like,
Yeah.
mentality.
I
Thankfully.
think it only used that as like a premise for its world and not to like say anything.
An
about
Right.
it, really.
message.
Because to be fair, if that's the message, then the message is kill yourself, and maybe you find a way out.
We don't really know.
We
the
don't know.
answers, but we're having fun with it. You can too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best message if you're like, kill yourself, find out.
Yeah.
You know, like, we've got questions too. We're not
Yeah.
going to answer them, but we are going to ask them. Anyways.
Well,
Scores?
Yeah.
Owen
Price.
Ticklefoot.
Start with me.
Yep.
All right, works for me.
Nathan, I'm so sorry.
I pretty much gave my thesis at the very beginning of this review.
Can't wait to give him the result.
I enjoyed. I really liked the concept. There were about 2 scenes that I liked, but for the majority, it felt very meandering, and I know that's kind of the reason for this movie is to kind of feel like the character is meandering through this world. But I don't like that. It felt very aimless. I didn't like the dialogue. The characters weren't interesting. The character, like the side partner character who you're supposed to kind of like laugh at and give this world more personalities, pretty much an asshole. I didn't really enjoy him the whole time. I didn't want him to succeed. I didn't want him to be in the movie.
Cleaning up his room. You wanted him to succeed on that one.
Yeah.
I didn't
But
care,
after
I
that,
didn't
it
care
was
about
better.
anyone succeeding in this movie. I like the girl with the bad haircut. She was fine, but she's in that like indie romantic quirky kind of thing where like she sees a sign and wants to change it. Like she does all that stuff all the time, and I get
It's
really
not-
sick of that.
It's not fair. I OD'd and died. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
didn't think it was funny when she changed "Save Us Messiah" to "Shave Us Messiah"?
I just got tired of.
Like
I
that.
just hate in
That was
romantic
pretty good.
movies like the girl who's the interest is always quirky.
So quirky
They can't
and so
just
clever.
they can't just be a
Well,
normal
so that
person.
was part of.
He's
that
like,
era.
Mike, my boring fiance. She's boring and pretty, and that's all I want out of my
I
life.
just want a realistic person, like not these. I don't
You
care.
don't want a Zoe
I
Deschanel
don't like
New
this.
Girl.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Can we get Zoe Deschanel?
I had to get that on camera. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, but like I said, the concept carries this movie a lot. The runtime helps it as well because it's not too long, even though it seems fat. So I'm gonna give this movie a 3. It wasn't a total waste of time,
Street
but I would never rewatch this movie.
Typical rule of thumb is that any of Price's unreasonably low numbers, you usually double it, and that's probably a closer to fair number. So this movie, this movie's a 6. This movie is like pretty doo doo. It's like pretty bad. But it's not like so bad that I'm like miserable watching it. I didn't particularly like any of the characters. The one main girl, I was like, I thought she was fine. I think she's kind of a dick by the end. She just leaves him hanging, and then she's smiling because she's like, shit, I thought I got rid of him. You know?
And then they come next to each other.
Yeah. She's like,
Well, I mean,
"Fuck."
she died ODing, so like, what kind of person was she in the
Right,
regular
she
world,
wasn't
too,
that
right?
great in the real world.
It was a
I
heroin
mean,
needle.
people go through hard times.
Sure,
I'm not- but
Maybe
it
it's the housing bubble, and she was a real estate agent before, and then she, you got to keep
Yeah,
in
yeah.
context and everything. But other than like the pretty cool premise and some of the fun questions, they never get to answering questions, or they don't show the cool stuff that I want from this movie, which is a lot of my disappointment from this. A lot of the stuff they could have done, I can put aside character grievances if the world was so cool, and they were doing more with the cool concept, and it was like the concept was cool, but they never took it much further than that. So I was left unfulfilled. I very much was going in expecting a good, healthy lay, and then I got a hand job,
Dry.
but dry,
Oh.
no spit, and I just couldn't even work up the energy at that point either. So that's the 6 out of 10 for me.
Damn. Up until that last part, I was gonna say I'm exactly with Dylan.
Then the Handy came out.
Yeah.
Because I am an optimistic person.
A dry
I'm a
hammy?
little bit more bubbly, so I'm gonna give it a 6.5. But
Okay.
they're both right. I mean, the premise of this movie, we could have made a movie pretty darn similar.
We're just gonna make a movie because eventually the director's gonna watch this and be like, "Fucking do it then."
Yeah.
In the comments. Also, let us know in the comments below if you're
Do
the
it.
director.
Do it, cowards.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6.5. I mean, I really do think that this movie could have taken off. Like,
Unlike
and it'd
me.
been a lot more fun, but it definitely fell
Clip
flat.
Clip that.
Okay.
The
Well,
boy who picked it.
Yeah.
it still lands maybe a little bit higher for me,
Mm.
but I think a lot of that is actually because of the music. Because
Yeah.
I
That's
really-
Good
Yeah,
group.
we
We
didn't
never
talk
even
about
talked
we didn't
about
talk
it.
about
We
it.
didn't talk about
Listen,
like I enjoy Gogol Bordello. I really like that band. So my initial interest in this movie ages ago was that they were heavily featured in it with the music. Like the sidekick to our main character was supposed to be representing the lead singer of Gogol Bordello effectively in this movie. Because it's supposed to be his band
Right.
that they're listening to all the time. So I enjoyed that, and I think that carries it with a lot more weight than it probably deserves to.
It's
It's
At
a
least he-
personal score.
And he
It doesn't
recognizes
matter.
it though. He recognizes it from a critical standpoint.
So
But when I give Tim and Eric a 10,
Yes,
I
because
get
you're
all
a
kinds
fucking
of crap.
A 10 is a perfect movie.
Like Pee-wee's Playhouse when all the shit goes.
Yeah, just loses it.
But yeah, it's got its flaws. It's got a big drag through the middle of it. It wastes your time in a lot of moments, but I think it's got like some funny jokes here and there, and I don't hate the ending.
That was the one ending that I was like, God dang it, don't do this. As long as you don't do this, you'll go up.
Don't do it.
Like I don't hate it. I think how they got there was a little like dumb. Like, oh, you got friends in high places. Let me just take your file and put it over here. It's like whatever.
For her, sure. For him,
yeah.
he
Right.
just falls into the
Well,
hole.
He
I mean,
found
I
him
think-
in that convenience store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
well, I think the guy that was working undercover or whatever, like his whole thing was like he just knew that they liked each other,
Yeah.
or that they should like each other, and knew that she had like gone back upstairs, so he was like, well, I'm just gonna send him along.
Yeah, because he only grabbed his file, like
Yeah.
in that clip at the very
Yeah,
end.
which I don't know. It's weird whenever you start thinking about the time scale of things. Cause like, how is he in a hospital bed beside her, even though like he died and his girlfriend
Died
then,
weeks.
like
a
I mean,
week
didn't they
later or
like have a
something?
funeral or something that she was at?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
no, he
showed
was
they
there.
showed
Like,
his funeral. So
This is the
How?
butterfly effect.
It's
Right,
Like
it
how
is.
But a
did
lot
that
worse.
happen? But whatever.
Well,
I mean, it's
depending on what version we watch.
Shut up.
yeah. But yeah, I'll end at 7 with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is more than it deserves. I recognize that.
That's all we basically said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a score, but it kind of
It-
sucked.
it definitely just-
it was kind of doo doo.
Yeah, it was a doo-doo movie.
Come down to the threes.
Mason, you
We'll
want to spin
welcome
it?
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hold
Yeah,
it.
I'll spin it.
I'll hold it.
We ready?
Ready as we're gonna be.
And voila.
Who cares about IMDb scores and all that?
Oh,
jazz?
yeah.
I got it.
It was so close. Parasite.
Oh, it's a me.
Pierce it.
Virus.
So make sure to tune in for scores on IMDb.
Yeah.
Do we got those?
Well, I remember when I put this movie
Sure.
on the wheel for this season, Mason goes, because I put this one in another kind of critically
You put
acclaimed
everything-
movie.
Yeah.
And Mason's like, what's the
Yeah.
point? Like, you're only picking good movies. I was like, because they're good movies, Mason. What's the problem
No, it's
with
like you're
that?
trying to round out your score.
No, I know, no. It
Yeah.
comes back to whenever he fights with the brackets to come around, and he's
Oh.
like, I'm the greatest.
No,
I
gotta
win.
be
I
like
picked
your
Parasite. I picked this.
I mean,
I picked
I
Glorious
just picked
Bastard.
that.
Yeah, Nathan leans into the curb and,
Yeah,
and
Nathan's
Price
like-
tries to get the most traction.
I know.
tires
Price
he
is
can
like,
get.
I'm the most accoladed movie picker. I watch the best movies. Big.
I mean, I did pick Inglourious Bastards.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you did
I-
that like realistically because you enjoyed it. And it's,
Yeah.
you know.
I love these movies.
So I think you all might be surprised by the scores on this. IMDb gives Risk Cutters a 7.2 out of 10,
So close. to
and on Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 67 by critics, but an 82
Damn.
by the audience.
By audience is 82.
Yeah.
That's a well. Okay, so
Wrong.
I guess I can get it if the concept is this, right? If you're an audience member, then you're going to go watch this movie. And like audience, that's the thing about audience scores, right? If you're going to go, nobody stumbles into this movie, right?
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
There's a highly
Yeah.
good chance they saw the trailer of this, and it's very transparent what it is, and it, they're like, no, I thought this was fine. They're not going as
It's
critical.
an
as we are.
interesting movie. Yeah.
Right. So I could see where audiences are higher on it because they like this was something that they wanted out of it. In the same way they're like the Go-Go Bordello guys or whatever. They're like, we love those guys, and they got their movie
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, because everybody's heard of Go Go Bardem or whatever. Like,
You're thinking of Javier Bardem,
Yeah.
The
and he
Go-Go
was
Dancers.
excellent in
Well, if
All
you
Country
haven't
for Old Men.
heard of them, look them up. They're pretty good.
Anyways, so we normally do a trailer, but we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
So
enjoy us as we transition in this lovely studio of ours to the next episode. Parasite.
Parasite.
Sorry, Mason was hitting with something.
I still haven't seen this movie.
You still haven't. That's right. You didn't watch it.
I have
Oscar
been
ride.
like just stopping watching a lot of movies like that
That's
just
good.
Just
because
in
I know
case.
eventually
Just in
it'll
case
come
it
up.
comes
Like
up.
JoJo, yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be on Hulu. I don't know if it's there anymore, but it was on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, make sure to tune in for The Bug next week. That's an Always Sunny reference. Price gets it.
The Bog?
The Bug!
I don't get that one.
I'll tell it to you later.
Okay.
You You swine. Anyway,
All right.
if you're the director, let us know in the comments below if we could do it better. We can. Will Arnett, if it's you, we love you. That's it. Like this video because we watch movies for you and then talk to you about it and then tell you if you should even watch it or not. This one, a little mixed. And hit the bell because he deserves it. And that's it. Bye, guys.
Bye.